Hi everybody, so this is Your Story Part 4 and I just want to have a quick mention about the PLR. I know I said it in I think part 1 or 2, but I just want to talk about it a little bit more because it can be really interesting. Now the really interesting thing, as I say, is that there are many different theories to this, and that's absolutely fine because if you've seen any of my other videos you'll see that I totally think that we all have our own realities. And so therefore, if PLR means past life regression to you, then that's cool. And if PLR means a parallel life, then that is also cool. And if PLR means that everything else is a load of rubbish and it's just a story and this is your subconscious creating a story, and then that's also absolutely cool because it actually doesn't matter. It does the same thing. What it does is that you can find a hypnotherapist and you can ask them to take you into hypnosis, and you can go into the feeling, whatever feeling happens to be the one that you would like to release. So PLR experiences that myself or my clients have had over the years are, off the top of my head, we've had fear of flying, we have had fear of birds, we have had fear of water, we have had fear of fighting, fear of arguments. And can you hear that a lot of this is about fear? And so one of the things that PLR can do is it can help you release a fear that is holding you back. And of course, this fear is all part of a story. This is all part of your story. So it might be that part of what you go through is the story of what you are fearful of and how that is affecting your life. So within that, it might be that if we have a fear of water, it stops us going swimming, it stops us paddling in streams and lakes, and it stops us doing an awful lot of different things like that. And so the PLR can allow us to release the fear through whatever story we have created. And again, this is part of the story. This is how a story can actually help us, how a story can be created within the story that we have unconsciously created for ourselves. How cool is that? So we can use a story to uncreate a story and create a new story. How is this going to help us? How is this going to help us become more authentically ourselves? How is this going to help us ascend if you're into that story? And the answer, I feel, is that by releasing the things that are preventing us being who we truly can be, then we can step into being something that potentially can be so amazing, potentially can be so unlimitless, that we can do just anything. And that's amazing, isn't it? How amazing is that? I started this series of conversations with you by saying that over the past few days, this has been given to me that, can you please talk about the story? Can you please talk about the story? It's important. It's important. And it was actually my story that prevented me from doing this up until today. And my story, I will share with you, part of it is actually about being in the limelight. Part of it is actually about putting myself out there and being seen as showing off. And so part of my own personal story I'll share with you is that I don't like being centre of attention. I don't like showing off. And therefore I have had to deal with that part of my story through all the techniques that I'm showing you in all of these videos. The techniques that I've used myself as I have walked my own path and I have dealt with my own story. And so over the last few days, as they have been saying to me in my meditations, it has been saying, you know, come on, do about the story, do about the story, you need to do about the story. And it's every day, it's do about the story, do about the story. And I'm going, no, I don't want to do about the story, because my story is saying it's going to be all about me showing off. And so within that, I've had to then go back and look at my own story about being in the limelight and putting all of this out here to you. And I've had to look and say, why have I not wanting to actually talk to you about the story? Why has it been such a struggle for me to do that? So again, this is about being authentic. This is about me standing and winging it yet again. Oh, I did write a list. I said I would, and I did. Ta-da! There's my list. I think it will grow. I'm gonna kind of keep it there, and I'm gonna kind of carry on. Oh, there's some stuff down there we haven't talked about yet. And so within that, part of what I did this week and part of my own story and my own healing was that I did put some videos up of me singing, not because I want you all to tell me how fantastic I am, and not because I think I'm fantastic, because I don't, but I think part of it is actually to then start to step into that whole fear of saying, right, what is it that is telling me that I can't do these things? What is it that is telling me that my story is telling me it's not a good idea to put those videos up? It's not a good idea to put myself out there and say, woo, look at me. So I invite you to do the same. I invite you to look at what is stopping you. What story, what part of your story is stopping you doing what is going to not only help you, but possibly help others as well, because we are all in this together. And so, you know, one of the things that possibly is going to stop you really helping somebody else today might be that feeling a part of your story is saying, whoa, I shouldn't be doing that. And then the story within why you shouldn't be doing that. I'll give a perfect example of this. On Thursday, I had to go up to London, went on the train, and there is a few seats down and a mum struggling with her baby. She was a wonderful mum. She was being so patient and so lovely, and the baby wouldn't settle. And so I went through my own story, and my own story was, oh, I shouldn't go and interfere. So my story was, don't interfere, Michelle. And then a part of me then looked at myself and said, why is my story telling me not to interfere? So I sat there for, you know, a stop and asked myself why my story was saying that she would presume I was interfering and be offended. And so in the end, I picked my coat up and I picked my bag up and I walked down and I actually said to her, are you all right? Do you want some help? And she didn't want some help, but it was really nice for her to have a conversation with somebody who understood, because one of the things that she'd been worrying about is how the baby crying had been upsetting all of the other passengers on the train. So we got the baby out and we calmed the baby down, and it was absolutely lovely, and it was lovely to connect with her, and it was gorgeous to connect with her baby. And it all started because my story was saying, do not interfere, Michelle. And I had to look at that story and I had to say, is it interfering or is it helping? Is it me reaching out to somebody else and going, I've been there. I've been the mum with the crying baby that's absolutely feeling paranoid that the entire population is hearing this baby. And so within all of these stories, can you hear the stories? Can you hear my stories as I share them with you? Can you hear? Please watch it back, rewind, watch it back, hear the stories that I'm telling you, they are only stories. And yet these are the stories that we live by. These are the stories that when we release, we can then fly. Anyway, train journey was lovely. I got to meet a gorgeous, gorgeous mum and a gorgeous, gorgeous baby and just have a few moments with the two of them, and it was lovely. And all of that was because I released that story that told me I was interfering. So I invite you to think about your story and think about the fears, and think about all the different ways that you can prevent yourself from being held back, how you can release yourself, how you can create new stories, and how you can discover your old stories, and how you can find ways wherever you live to find somebody to help you release them. We all need that. We all need help. It works. It's sharing energy. It's creating that mirror. It's beautiful. Have a lovely day. Bye.